Property PreQual is something that's going to take off. It already is taking off. It is a brilliant, not because I thought of it, but it's a brilliant service or product that you can offer to your seller that no one else can. So I'll start. We're going to hear from this panel in just a little bit, talking about the details of the property PreQual. And first, where did the property PreQual come from? Well, it came out of my head, but the reason it did was because 2 years ago, sitting in my office, we have a transaction that's about to close, 2 days from closing, and the closer walks in and says, holy crud, this deal's not going to die, or they're going to close, it's dead in 2 days. I said, why? Well, it's a condo, and the listing agent / seller accepted a offer contingent upon FHA financing. Oftentimes the lenders, especially the not so great lenders, get involved in the transaction a little bit late. They send the title order to us, we send them the stuff, and then underwriting said, whoa, this is an FHA loan against a condo that's not FHA eligible. So the deal died, buyer got their money back, marketing started over for the listing agent. Listing agent and seller made a mistake. So I said, wow, holy crud, we have a pre-qualified buyer but not a pre-qualified property. So that's where the name property PreQual came from. And then I don't sleep well at night, so I started thinking of all these things. So first we'll talk about why. Again, this is for the people watching as well. Why do you need the property PreQual? Well, you're going to differentiate yourself from other listing agents. You're going to get more listings. You're going to walk into a listing presentation followed by another person walking into the listing presentation after you, and you're going to explain what the property PreQual is. It's very visual. It's also digital. I'll explain that in a little bit. Notice how it's on a silver platter. That's how I'm delivering it to you today. You're going to get more listings because you're going to say, this is something that I offer that no one else does. Does no one else offer it? No. A couple of hundred agents do. The agents in the Baba network. There are 34,000 agents in the greater Tampa Bay area, so you're a pretty small minority of people that can offer this. You're going to make your listings more appealing, and you're going to reduce days on market because we're going to answer a lot of the questions. Remember, all of this happens at listing. What the mistake that listing agents make is they wait, they do all of this work. They get the property ready. They do landscaping. They get their seller to change carpeting. They do all of these things, but they wait until contract to do 10 more things that have to happen. Or those 10 things, they do 3 or 4 of them, and they're not satisfying the contract. You're going to close many of the loopholes that the buyer has to get out of the contract. If the seller, for example, if the seller has a survey and the survey isn't delivered to the buyer, which never happens, the buyer can walk and get their money back. Same thing with the owner's policy. Same thing with the title commitment. You're going to keep it real with your seller. This is an important thing because you're going to say to your seller, a major component of this is the inspection. Seller says, I just put new appliances in. They were $10,000. So my house is worth $20,000 more, right? No, it's worth hardly anything more. But you're going to keep it real because their house, this is a used house. This is a Carfax report for a house because Carfax is for used cars, this is for used houses. You're going to prove that you're the proactive agent that you claim to be. You're going to do all of these things before any other agent would do it. You're going to save the seller, the buyer, and yourself money. Seller saves money in many ways. Buyer saves money because they don't have to buy the inspection. And you save yourself money because you're marketing it for less time. And most importantly, you end the price negotiation at contract. So let's think just about the inspection. What happens? Megan, you have a house for sale for $400,000. I love your house. I want to buy it from you for $400,000. Let's go under contract. And then what is my job? Find out what's wrong with your house so that I can come back and say, well, your roof's garbage, not that it is, and your carpet's bad and you got termite damage. So that $400,000 needs to be $320,000. We're still negotiating. We find everything that's wrong with the property and either fix it or allow for it, and there's no more negotiation. How often has that happened? You go under contract and then you start negotiating, right? Ever?
Yep.
Always? So here's what it includes. Inspection report. Performed at listing for the buyer. Okay, the seller is not rock solid home inspection, and Lenny will get into this, but the seller is not their client. Property PreQual LLC is their client. They are performing an inspection at our request for the buyer. We just don't know who the buyer is. Make sense? Anything that's wrong with the property, let's say you have an extremely thorough inspector that finds 75 problems with the property. I bet you a handyman or a contractor, but most likely a handyman, could fix 60 of them, and then you've got an inspection report that's got 15 things wrong with it. Which one scares off the buyer? The first one. Preliminary title commitment. This is required by the contract and rarely delivered. It is literally required to be delivered. Remember, seller and buyer are the two parties of the contract. So seller is required to deliver to buyer the title commitment. Rarely happens. I also teach a class on how to read a title commitment that some of you have been to. Please attend the next one. HOA and condo docs. One of the things in the minutia of the contract is anything that is listed as an exception on the title policy has to be delivered with legible copies to the buyer. 15% of the HOAs in America are in this state of Florida. Won't get into why, but that's never done. Once in a while, the buyer will request them, as they should, and that's cool, but we're delivering it to them first so that they can't say, I didn't get that. We don't care if they read them. We care that they got them, because then they can't get out of it because of them. Existing owner's title policy, just like the survey. Most of us, if you realize that if your seller has owned the property for less than 3 years, then there's a discount. And that's what people think the owner's policy's value is. That's a piece of it. The other piece of it is, it's contractually required. If it exists, it must be delivered to the buyer. I've never, ever in 20 years seen someone say, this is required, let me deliver it to the buyer. I've seen tons of people say, they've only lived there 2 years, here you go, let's get a discount. That makes sense. The first one doesn't. Survey, same thing. We just talked about that. Municipal lien search. That's going to get done. Do you want to do it at contract and find code enforcement violations and unpaid water bills and past due taxes and permit issues? Do you want to find that at contract or do you want to find it at listing? Let's find it at listing. Insurance analysis. I love this. And Tiffany's going to talk about this in a little bit. The buyer's lender doesn't know how much insurance is going to be until they, further along in the process, like after inspection period, I believe, they get involved and start saying, let's see how much insurance is. And whoa, there's flood insurance that we didn't know about, or there's flood insurance that skyrocketed since whenever that change happened. So Tiffany's company does an analysis. Are you in a flood zone? This is how much HOA is. Here's a summary. Get that to their lender. Tiffany wants to insure it, but even if she doesn't, the lender needs to know that so that if the deal's going to die, let's make it die now instead of next month. Mortgage analysis. With the light bulb, this is where it started. And that is when you place the order, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment, you choose your lending partner and they write a letter and they say, hey, John Seller, thank you for letting us do this. These are the types of loans that your home is eligible for. FHA, VA, not USDA, not FHA because it's a condo, so that they can make an educated or they can take the right offer. Property profile, this is a 20-page document with a bunch of stuff that you're not supposed to tell your buyer or the buyer, demographics, crime, things like that, but it gets very deep into that. School systems, the race of the kids in the school systems, all of the things that may or may not be important to them, but just hand it to them. Costs you nothing. And then here's my favorite part. That's not my favorite part, but it's a cool part. Photography. This is an a la carte item. Our friends at Firelight Images are the company that we use that cover the entire area, and they have agreed to be paid at closing. When you get photography for your listings, when do you pay? Right when you get the pictures, right? No more. Well, you don't, because you do this. No? You do. You're using your iPhone, Nick, so here's my favorite part. All paid at closing, and nothing is upcharged. Property PreQual, the company, does not make money from this. The entire thing, I don't have the laser, but the entire thing for me is title commitment. I make money when I close your transaction. I wrap all of these things around it to make you have to order this, and then when it comes time to close, we handle the closing. This started a year and a half ago. The system started 6 months ago. We're doing about 4 of these a week, which blows my mind because we should be doing 40 of these a week. So it's a learning curve that I'm putting you all through that then you have to put your seller through. So this isn't super easy, and it's a new thing. So here are the steps to success. If you registered for today, you don't have to write this down because we're going to send this PowerPoint to you. If you didn't register, then frantically write everything down and register next time. And let's make sure we don't send it to the people that registered and didn't show up. So step 1, attend a property PreQual presentation. Congratulations, you've completed step 1. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right, that's the good news. Bad news is there's 10 more steps. Next, go to propertyprequal.com. This website's incredible. You don't have to log in to learn everything. We have this. So this is for your client that needs the visual and for the house. So you want to have this in the house. I recommend a silver platter, not a plastic one, but put that in the house and explain it to buyer's agents. When the house is being shown, let them see what it is. Let them understand, look, this is transparency. We are showing you everything about this property. Do not do this when you have a seller that doesn't want to disclose, because everything becomes disclosed. Do not do this when you have a seller that's going to flip a property to a cash investor, and if you tell him that the electrical panel has to be recalled, he's going to punch you in the face because he doesn't want to know these things. So it's not always the right thing. So go there. The 251-page PDF is in color. Print it. Print it out. Make it look this cool. If you can't make it look that cool, we'll make it for you. It's $100, which is way more than you want to spend because we don't want to make books, but we'll do it for you. And use this as your marketing tool. You go with that. You're armed with that, and you say, yeah, the last guy you talked to, he's going to put your stuff on 45,000 websites. So am I. So is everyone else. So is the guy doing the $200 listings. He can do, that's easy. Nobody's going to do this for you except me. Then incorporate the scripts for the sellers, and we're going to show you each of these as we go. Jenny's done a great job of making scripts that you can just read to people and change however you want. Attend an onboarding. So you can't just go and place the property PreQual order because we and you need you to do it correctly. So when you're ready to place the order, and this needs to be at listing, not before you're putting it on the MLS, and I'll explain why. Come to ITA every Thursday. Every Thursday at 10, we're open for this. Let us know that you're coming, and we will onboard you right then. Best way to be onboarded is to have a listing agreement and do an actual deal. We can also do it over the phone. Then you place your property PreQual order. Then you upload, I'll show you the dashboard in a minute, but this began as, and you can ask, where's Rick? You can ask Rick. When this began, this was sends an email with an order form. We send the email to all of our partners. We get those emails. We send those emails to him. Email sucks. It gets lost, whatever. That doesn't happen anymore. We have a database where he has a dashboard, and he has his 10 items on a particular property. And each one that's in color is ready. Each one that's not is not. Very slick. You upload them to your MLS because you're showing the buyer's agents and the buyers, this is something unique about my property. This is something that I'm answering half of the questions for your clients before you ever get here. They're not going to not show your house. Print the property PDFs for the on-counter book, unless you win the drawing right after I'm done for that book, and then you got it. No, it doesn't count because it has to be specific to that property. This is for you to sell it. That's for you to sell the house. Connect as soon as the buyer comes along, and this is something that Lenny taught us right away. The inspection is done for the buyer. We don't know the buyer yet. So as soon as you know the buyer and buyer's agent, get on the horn with Lenny and say, here's who to call. I can't explain it like he can. You can't explain it like he can. And they don't want to hear it from us. They want to hear it from the guy that owns Rock Solid. And again, he's done it for their client. It's guaranteed, it's warranted. He's going to talk about all that in a little bit. So there's no, don't do his job for him. It's his job.
That's the part where I fall down. Because I'm not concentrating on the buyer, I'm concentrating on my seller, and I forget to put the two of them together.
Easy to do, yeah.
So they always go and get their own inspection, which comes back exactly the same.
Right, right. So they just wasted $400. Yeah. So yes, and that's a learning curve because you never had an inspection that as soon as the buyer comes along, you say, here's your inspection.
But I don't really care if they spend more money because they're not my client.
But we're going to talk about in a second how this benefits your client in a couple ways. So thanks for skipping ahead. So this is very important. As soon as you're under contract, send, and we have a slide for this, send everything to the buyer's agent and say, here's what you have, please confirm receipt. At that point, you have contractually delivered it to them and they can't say you haven't. Send insurance quote to buyer's lender, along with what we were talking about earlier with Tiffany. Get it to them because they're doing their loan estimate. They need those numbers. They can wait a day or 3 days or a week for whoever they're going to use for insurance, or they can use Tiffany's quote and hopefully use Tiffany. And that concludes our initial instructional video about the property PreQual. So now I'm going to teach these folks the nuts and bolts of how to do it. And if you want to learn more, then you need to get in touch with us at info@babaevent.com, and we'll get in touch with you and we'll do the same presentation for you, and you can become one of these agents that's taking this great tool and using it to your benefit.